Happy Thanksgiving, everyone. I think we can still say that, right? I mean, it's not like the Columbus Day thing. Are we still allowed to say Happy Thanksgiving? I don't care whether you can say it or not. I'm saying it. Happy Thanksgiving. I think we have so much to be thankful for this year and a lot to, be concerned about as well. But let's go with the good stuff on this Thanksgiving. Happy Thanksgiving. Welcome to the Trish Regan Show. I am Trish. It's really good to have you here. Just a quick reminder, make sure you subscribe if you haven't already on Apple iTunes, on Spotify, on YouTube, to my channel right there. Give it a thumbs up. Do subscribe on Rumble, wherever you're getting your video. But we've got a lot to talk about because there's a lot for a holiday week going on. First of all, the head of a major U.S. bank, like really big deal, premier U.S. bank, he just had to apologize because he said something that got China all bent out of shape, telling us what? That woke capitalism is still here, it's still alive and well, and China gets to call a lot of the shots. We're going to talk about that. I also want to talk a little bit about these oil prices that are a little bit steady in at least trading on Wednesday, but nonetheless, what we're seeing here is a reaction to Biden's move to tap the strategic petroleum reserves that's actually causing more inflation in energy. Don't forget, it was Donald Trump who actually provided a full SPR that Biden could now tap, right? Back when energy prices were so low. I do recall Kamala Harris being all worked up, accusing him of giving something to the energy companies back when he did that. Anyway, we need to talk about that. And then we also need to talk about the crypto grinch. You're not going to believe what Hillary Clinton's saying about cryptos and how they can just take over the world. By the way, the crypto community loves that, absolutely loves that. But let's start here on the woke capitalism being alive and well. It really is. Jamie Dimon, wonderful CEO of a wonderful firm, JP Morgan, one of the biggest in the world financial companies. He had come out and said recently that, in terms of celebrating the 100th anniversary of JP Morgan, he said that the Communist Party is celebrating its 100th year. So is JP Morgan. I'll make you a bet we last longer. He said it with a smile, right? So he's just commenting on the fact that, yeah, JP Morgan is seeing its 100th anniversary as well. And I bet you JP Morgan will last longer, okay? That was sort of a testament to the ability of the bank to thrive no matter what. And so China went nuts, okay? China was like, how dare you? And they have no sense of humor, right, about these things at all. We've seen a lot of companies really get bent out of shape when some people say certain things, yours truly included. Anyway, JP Dimon had to then come out and issue a statement, and he said, quote, I regret and should not have made that comment. I was trying to emphasize the longevity of our company. I regret and should not have made that comment. I mean, come on. The editor-in-chief of Global Times, that's the communist-run, the CCP-run newspaper, he was all worked up about it, saying, quote, I bet the Chinese Communist Party will outlast the United States. So do we get to go after him for that one? By the way, there are times when, I kid you not, I worry about the direction of the country so much that I worry a statement like that actually does have some merit. I hope not, but we've got a lot to do, a lot of work to preserve this democracy and to preserve our freedoms, because we all know on this Thanksgiving that indeed they are under attack. I repeat, they are under attack. So it's up to each and every one of us to preserve them, which is one of the reasons why I encourage you, do make sure that you subscribe to this channel right now. Go to my website, trishintel.com, sign up for my newsletter. Let's make sure that we have this connection so that we can be out there speaking the truth. We are on the front lines of this right now. Anyway, I want to turn to what's going on in the oil markets because, hey, we could very well see $6 gasoline in part as a result of this coordinated effort between the U.S. and China and the UK and a bunch of other countries that decide to release strategic reserves. Biden is out there tapping the strategic reserves. I've been telling you about it all week. And he's doing this in an effort to lower prices, but instead it's having the unintended consequence of kind of freaking the global energy markets out. And so you're seeing, in fact, the opposite. In fact, the day that he did this, the global price on oil shot up to $82 a barrel. So now he's doubling down again on this idea that somehow there's fraud going on. Don't forget, he said that the price of gasoline in the wholesale market is 10% lower in recent weeks, but that the price at the pump hasn't budged, not a penny. And that's why he's calling on the Federal Trade Commission, Lena Khan, who runs that, to investigate this possibly illegal activity. So I thought I should set the record straight on that one. As somebody who follows oil markets and has for a long time, what Biden needs to understand is that there's actually a lag between what you see in wholesale prices, what you see in the global energy markets, and what actually happens at the gas station, right? Because the gas station has to buy wholesale gas. It also, the wholesale providers get that from the actual wholesale of crude oil. So you've got to look at the ratio of wholesale gas prices to retail prices. You've got to look at crude oil to retail prices, the ratio of crude oil to retail prices. And I would just point out that both of those ratios are actually at a 10-year low, which tells you that, actually the gas stations, they actually might be getting crimped a bit in terms of their profitability, right? Because those ratios are under pressure. Anyway, I think we can conclude that consumers aren't actually paying anything that's terribly out of line. It's just that global energy markets are pricing higher and higher oil prices. And that's what happens when you have an administration that is so hell-bent on really reducing the energy footprint that the U.S. has, right? They got rid of Keystone. They don't like anything associated with the oil and natural gas industry. And, look, I'm not even that critical of green energy. I'm pretty for it, and I think it's going to have a big role in the future. But I'm not about to throw out everything we already have. Certainly from a national security standpoint, you need that energy industry. Otherwise, you're going to deal with exactly what we're dealing with, and that is all this inflation. And I'll tell you, it's coming back to hurt him in a very big political way. There's a brand new YouGov poll that just came out. And what it shows is 77% of Americans blame Biden for inflation right now. 77% of the country says Joe Biden is responsible. Now, it's not entirely his fault. I'm going to cut him a little bit of slack on that because the Federal Reserve has not exactly been doing what it should and has contributed to this inflation without a doubt, as I predicted it would. But nonetheless, I get it. These policies, these energy policies are creating a run-up in energy prices, in oil prices, which just transcends the rest of the economy. And it's tough for people because weekly earnings in the month of November, they actually declined 1.4%. So when you've got prices up 6.2%, weekly earnings going down 1.4%, it's not a very good scenario this Thanksgiving. But the White House seems to think, and Jen Psaki there, his flack at the White House, seems to think that we can just, we can all manage. It's not that big a deal. Listen to her here.
Well, first I would say, I don't know if you've cooked a turkey before, but a 20-pound turkey is a pretty big turkey. I think we can all agree. They're about $1 more. So not to minimize that.
Not to minimize that, just as she minimizes it, she goes on to explain that, look, Thanksgiving prices aren't that much worse. It's just $1 more for a 20-pound turkey. But, this goes beyond just turkey. Okay, Jen? This goes to the prices that people are paying for everything. Everything is more. It's the gas pumps. It's the heating oil. It's the cost of eggs and bacon. It is the house, the roof over your head, the housing that you're living in. All of these things add up, which is why I keep telling people over and over again, you want to make sure that you prepare in this environment with a very diversified portfolio so that you can even out some of these fluctuations in inflation, and so that you can have a little bit of freedom for yourself in your financial future. I know everybody wants to retire someday, right? Well, it gets really hard to retire if all the money that you've saved up is suddenly worth a whole lot less because it costs twice as much to heat your home, or it costs twice as much for groceries on any given week. And so it's one of the reasons why I encourage people to look at gold. Gold prices, which have been at a 5-month high and now hovering around $1,800 per ounce, that's one way to really hedge out this risk. And you can do that by buying the gold itself, or you can do that by actually having a gold backed IRA. So I recommend, these guys are great. They've been in business for 40 years. They really understand what your risk tolerance is and where you should be putting your assets right now to hedge out what I do believe is going to get worse, and that's inflation. Call Legacy Precious Metals today. Tell them I sent you. I'm good friends with the guys there, and they will help you out. I promise. 1-866-589-0560 is their phone number. Again, that's 1-866-589-0560. LegacyPMInvestments.com. LegacyPMInvestments.com is their website. And again, they'll help you figure out this. And you got to figure it out, right? Because it's kind of a wild time, and it's going to get worse. One of the areas that we've also taken a good hard look at over the course of the last year in this podcast is the crypto space. And there are things that make me nervous about it, but in principle, I really like it. I really like the idea of having something. It's one of the reasons why I like gold, and there's a similar sort of theme here going on. I like having something that can be somewhat independent of these central banks. But all that said, they're not entirely independent, all right? They're not. Look, how many people have they busted, right? The FBI goes after them. They get paid in cryptos, and all of a sudden, 3 weeks later, you find out the FBI traced every dollar. It's not entirely as secretive and as anonymous as it's reported to be. And I don't think it ever entirely will be, because at some point you can trace that blockchain back. But don't tell Hillary Clinton that. She's kind of turned into a crypto grinch here. You should hear what she told Rachel Maddow on a recent MSNBC special. This is something actually I think the crypto community actually loves, because it makes them feel more strongly about their cryptos. She really, for whatever reason, is quite threatened by Bitcoin and other cryptos, and worries a lot. She said this in a seminar just the other day, and then again on MSNBC. She worries that China and Russia are behind the rise in these cryptos. Take a look.
Such as a China or a Russia or others manipulating technology of all kinds to their advantage. We're looking at non-state actors, either in concert with states or on their own, destabilizing countries, destabilizing the dollar as the reserve currency.
Destabilizing the dollar as the reserve currency. Look, I will say it's not something that you can just, throw away as an idea. You do have to worry about the stability of the US dollar, but not because of Bitcoin. I mean, I know that the Bitcoin community would love that, but look, all these cryptos are still priced in US dollars. You still need the fundamental strength of a government behind you. You still need the strength of a military behind your currency. And so I would suspect that still, the US dollar is here to stay. But we have to be aware. I would say be aware of China, be aware of the euro. Look, there's a lot of things that would come along that would like to replace the US dollar, but I don't think it's really going to be Bitcoin. Don't forget, Bitcoin is priced in dollars, right? You have to translate it to something. The other thing is, if you're going to be a reserve currency, you need stability. You really do. Otherwise, you may as well be the Venezuelan peso or Bolivar, forgive me, the Venezuelan Bolivar, because if you have these wild fluctuations like Bitcoin does, people can't actually transact in Bitcoin. If it were to ever have any hope of being a real currency, it would have to have that evenness, but it's never going to have that evenness without the power of a government, of a sovereign behind it, including, yes, military power. So all these things go hand in hand. I appreciate that she's trying to sound smart and talk about this and maybe bring in a younger audience and scare a few people along the way. But I do not think that the US dollar is going to be taken over, as Hillary Clinton seems to suggest, by cryptos. A quick reminder, do make sure that you subscribe to this podcast. Do make sure that you go to my website and subscribe to my newsletter. You can check out the store. We've got all kinds of great things, especially for Black Friday, right? Hats, t-shirts, sweatshirts, all kinds of wonderful, wonderful items to help celebrate America and celebrate our freedom. I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful holiday. I hope you're with family and friends and enjoying every minute of it and remembering what we really need to be thankful. And that's to have been born in this great country, to be American, and to really help preserve the traditions of freedom that being an American really represents. Thanks again for tuning in, and I'll see you right back here tomorrow.